everyone, AMR back again with another video. So in today's episode, I am going to be handling the Thursday Night Football preview. So at the time of recording this, which is Wednesday night, and I have to go ahead and edit it in the morning, I'm going to be going ahead and giving you a rundown as to who the ins and outs, what the spread, what the lines, and then also who I think has some good mismatches and people you want to target for all of your DFS lineups as well as your actual, drafting leagues. But as always, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. So for our LAC at the Kansas City Chiefs game, we have Kansas City with a -4 line or a spread. So Kansas City is favored by 4 points. I really don't see this being all that out of the realm of possibilities. Los Angeles Chargers looked fantastic in week 1. They did manage to overcome their opponent of the Las Vegas Raiders, and then the Kansas City Chiefs just look phenomenal against the Arizona Cardinals, even on the road, that is. So the spread is -4 the spread is 4 to Kansas City. The over-under is 54.5 points. I'm going to go ahead and bet on the over if this was me. I'm going to go ahead and say that Kansas City covers this spread. It has an implied total of the Chargers with 25 points and the Kansas City Chiefs of 29. So again, I feel like those are very low numbers. This could easily be a 34-28 game, in my personal opinion, covering both those lines and the over-under, as I said earlier. So let's flip over to the injury report. So it's been a pretty crowded injury report for this week, and it's led mostly by Donald Parham and Keenan Allen. Those are the two guys that are going to be out of tomorrow's contest. So Donald Parham is dealing with a hamstring injury, and so is Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen was actually questionable in a game that he was kind of going off in. He tweaked his hamstring, and then he ended up coming out of the game. Even without him, Mike Williams, I don't know why I call him Michael. Mike Williams only had 2 receptions for like 10 yards. Not a very good showing, but I think that's going to be a very different story here on Thursday night, and I'll get to that in a minute. J.C. Jackson is questionable with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice. And then that's pretty much all you need to know on the Chargers side. Flipping over to the Kansas City Chiefs, you have Harrison Butker, who has already been ruled out. So if you're planning on using him as like a really low value person that you can start in your DFS on FanDuel or DraftKings, you're going to need to find value somewhere else. I'm not really sure what they're going to do at place kicking. Their place kicking looked pretty bad on Sunday without him. And then you have Trey Smith. Trey Smith is questionable with an ankle injury. He is their guard. And then a bunch of guys showing up on the injury report here, but are full participants, highlighting the names such as Justin Reed and Juju Smith-Schuster. Not really worried about any of those guys on that list. I think that they're all going to play. Okay, so let's flip over to the mismatches here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read off a couple of the mismatches based off of only a sample size of 1, which is week 1. But still, sample size is sample size. So Kansas City last week, they gave up 23.1 points to the quarterback, 21.6 points to the running back, 25.9 to the wide receiver, and 10.4 to the tight end. It was a very down week for tight ends, unless you were going to look at the Arizona Cardinals, who gave up a ton of points to Travis Kelce. That's a very different story, but this seems to be like a very general line across the league for tight end. And then over on the Chargers side of the ball, you have points against the position of quarterback, which is 16.8. 18.2 for running back, 31.6 for the wide receiver, and 9.9 for the tight end. So what does all that mean? All right, so let's go ahead and dive into it here. So as mentioned earlier, Kansas City is pretty much averaging right around 25 points given up at the skill positions of the quarterback, running back, and wide receiver. So that means all the Chargers, including Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Joshua Palmer, those are guys you're going to want to hyper target against this Kansas City defense. I feel like they're all going to be phenomenal, and I really have no qualms about starting them or having any type of reservation on them. I really do think this is going to be a very straightforward game. It's going to be your best versus our best, and let's just try and outscore one another. On the Los Angeles Chargers, they really kind of limit how many points that they give up at the quarterback position of 16.8. Didn't really have a good sample size in week 1 going up against Derek Carr. That being said, Derek Carr did hyper target the Devontae Adams, newly shined trophy that they got in the offseason, and that's why they have a 31.6 points given up at the wide receiver position, because Devontae Adams really did kind of go off in that week. So if that should give you any indication as to what this is going to be like. Now, keep in mind, I did say earlier that J.C. Jackson is questionable. He was limited in practice with an ankle injury. If he's not playing, then I feel like it is an absolute smash play for Juju Smith-Schuster. I really don't think that Juju is going to be in the discussion of a top tier wide receiver, but he's going to be very solid for fantasy this season. Got 7 receptions in week 1. I feel like as long as he's able to stay healthy on the field, I talked about this in my previous video of him having to get his knee drained and whatnot. As long as he's able to stay healthy and on the field, I really don't see him having any issues in this game at all. And so this is going to be my starts of the game if it were up to me. So quarterback between Mahomes and Herbert, I think I'm leaning towards Mahomes. Reason being is I just feel like Mahomes finds a way to not only get touchdowns through the air, but also he gets a ton of yards. So the two together really do kind of mean a lot to me. Whereas the Los Angeles Chargers, they have Austin Eckler, and I just feel like Austin Eckler is kind of a cheat code. He gets a lot of those touchdowns on the ground, which is why I'm taking Austin Eckler over Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Helaire had 2 touchdowns through the air last week, adding to Mahomes' 5 touchdowns on the day. But I really don't see that repeating here in week 2. That Charger defense looked pretty damn good against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I really don't see it being much different. At the wide receiver position, so this is where you kind of get a little screwy and you don't really know what to do. I don't think that there's a wrong answer. I feel like if I had to pick 3 of these wide receivers and I was creating a DFS lineup, I'd probably go Smith-Schuster, Mike Williams, and Mecole Hardman or Joshua Palmer. Mecole Hardman and Joshua Palmer are probably valued around the same for me right now, just because Las Vegas does have Jalen Guyton. Given that Jalen Guyton really didn't play much, I think you're pretty safe with Joshua Palmer. But that being said, Mecole Hardman was very involved in the Chiefs offense on Sunday. And then at tight end position, it's pretty easy. If you need to find a value player, I think Gerald Everett's going to be your guy for the Chargers. But try and make Travis Kelce work in your lineups. If you drafted him, great. You're going to play him every single time. Really no qualms whatsoever. And then if you need a very low value flex player, I have a really good idea on putting your chips on Jerick McKinnon. A lot of people are saying go on Pacheco. I think Pacheco is going to be fine, but Jerick McKinnon was splitting work basically with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and I think that Joe McKinnon is a very good running back. When he came into the league, he was supposed to be like this, next-gen type of running back, got hurt with an ACL injury in training camp. That really kind of deviated his career of where he really could have been. But I'm going to go ahead and get my prediction on today's game. So as I mentioned earlier, I think it is going to be a 34-28 game final score, and I think that the Chiefs are going to win. So I hope you enjoyed today's content. As always, if you like today's content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, helps me out a ton, but I'll catch you in the next one. See you.